I would love that.
I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:05. Will everybody please rise for a moment of silence, and let's remember our police chief's father, Max, who passed away 2 weeks ago. Please salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
I'll take them. I'd be afraid for my son to kill her. My son will go to federal penalty.
Yeah.
No. My daughter just made the also.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Butts?
Here.
Mr. Harris? Ms. Trinnell?
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Musi?
Here.
Mr. Sabatini?
Here.
Mr. Plensky?
Here.
Mr. Di Giuseppe?
Here. A few presentations to make, and we'll move these along as quick as possible. The first one I'll have our mayor do, recognizing Bristol Day, which is a tradition here, so I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Nancy Marin's here from the Historical Society. Please come forward. It's a resolution honoring the Bristol Cultural and Historical Foundation for the sponsorship of Historic Bristol Day. Whereas the Bristol Cultural and Historical Foundation will sponsor the annual Historic Bristol Day celebration on October 17, 2009. Whereas this event has brought positive exposure to the Borough of Bristol and has offered its citizens a day honoring the historical significance of Bristol Borough. Whereas the Council and the Mayor of Bristol Borough desire to honor the Bristol Cultural and Historical Foundation and the many hard-working volunteers for their efforts in this annual event. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Borough of Bristol, is hereby resolved by the authority of the same, that October 17, 2009 is hereby designated as Historic Bristol Day, and that the Bristol Cultural and Historical Foundation is hereby honored for its sponsorship of this annual Bristol Day event. The Council and Mayor congratulate the participants, volunteers, and sponsors of this event, which has proven to be a highlight of the many community events in Bristol Borough. And also, too, on behalf of the council, I'd like to present $1,000 towards the funding of the Bristol Day event, and I'm sure we'll have another outstanding Bristol Day.
See you all there on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Our next presentation will be done by Councilman Musi to our former Little League president. You come up. Before this presentation, I was the one that had suggested to council that we recognize John for all his hard work, but I also want to go on record by saying that there were several presidents prior to John being in Little League that did an outstanding job. Going back to Joey Adamson, I think Steve Cordisco's in the room, and going back to 20 years or 30 years ago when myself and the mayor was involved and act as presidents and board members. So I don't want anybody to feel that we were slighting anybody and why we're recognizing John. I just think it's a way to show our appreciation and to set a precedence where we'll move forward now with when the former president is done now, we can start recognizing him and so on into the future. I mean, going into the past, we could fill this room with great people, but John did do an outstanding job, and I think it's well-deserved. So, Councilman Musi.
This is a proclamation of the Borough of Bristol, County of Bucks, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, recognizing and commending John Doyle for his hard work and extraordinary dedication to the Bristol Borough Little League. Whereas the limits and the well-being of historic Bristol Borough are not in its land or its location, but is how those who live here live their lives. And whereas John Doyle has brought pride to himself, his family, and to the borough, for his outstanding efforts and accomplishments at the 2009 Bristol Borough Little League Baseball President. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Bristol Council and the Mayor of Bristol Borough that John Doyle is publicly recognized, congratulated, and thanked for his volunteer work as Little League President.
Next, I'm going to have Councilwoman Rodriguez recognize our District 21 champs.
Every year, I think me and Anthony, or Anthony and I, love to get up here and give out these certificates to show the kids of the borough that we appreciate the time they're giving up. They give up so much time to devote to Little League. The parents are there, they give up their time, the coaches give up their time. This is something we all do, I think, as a family. We end up having a big family picnic at the end of the year. Everybody brings something. We all sit around, eat, watch the kids have fun. And I just think it's important always to recognize the children, that even the ones that don't win, that go out there and try their hardest and fight until they fight the battle till the end, and all because they just love doing it. So this year we have today we have the 10 and under girls first, and the coaches are John Scansella, if you can come up, please. Steve Fitting, if he's here, you can come up, please. Stay here, stay here. Hi, Steve. How are you? Yeah, I was there. And Scott Fabiano. Under girls softball team. They won us the district champs this year. They're all wearing their nice hoodies. My goddaughter's sitting there smiling at me and waving. And it's just exciting because it's exciting to see them grow up. My daughter started at this age. She's now, 15. And every year they get better and better and better. And I am so proud when I go somewhere and we can recognize Bristol athletes. So on behalf of Bristol Borough, the council, the mayor, all of us, we'd like you guys to give these hands to the girls and call them up. There you go. I'm going to sit
All right, first up, Brianna Bierling. Next up, Haley Bigelow. Next will be Jade Stevens. Alyssa Adams. Madison Bidding. Deanna Burlington. Cara Fabiano. Desiree Franchetti. Demaria Jones. Melissa Marquez. Katie Morris. Alexis Mossbrook. And Katie Santana. Jade Stevens.
got two.
They want to get a couple pictures.
If anybody in the audience wants to take a picture of the kids while they're up here, feel free.
There's our 10 and under superstar.
Bunch up together, bunch up together.
In the front, Maddie.
There you go, you've done this before.
Smile, girls. You're on TV.
Next year.
You will be. Make sure you take a big copy of it.
He's dressed for TV today.
Hey, John,
That's softball.
that's our work, right?
Yeah, but then you're going to change the channel.
If they're watching it. Anything?
Yeah.
Here, Scott.
Real quick, I'd just like to say a few words. Number one, I'd like to thank Little League. They provide a very good organization down there for us to be able to succeed. Number two, also the council up here. I know Ralphie himself made a nice donation to start the season off, and it makes a big difference down there. The more funding we get down there, the more we're able to get the better equipment that makes us better. And the third and last before the kids is the parents. Steve, John, and I know we had long practices. We were out there till after 10 o'clock at night sometimes. All the parents came through for us, didn't complain. I know it's summertime and people are going on vacations. There's a lot involved where you have to put a lot of time in with the kids to be able to get to this level. And lastly, the kids, I mean, you know, you're up here. This is like the second and third time in a row. Well deserved.
Thank you, girls. Good job. Come give me a kiss, Maddie.
Oh, we're done. Yeah, you're done. All your hard work.
I love you.
You spoke a little bit.
Yeah, I see him.
I know, can I get your attention, please? I know one thing, win or lose, they had to be the cutest team in the district. At this time, I'm going to have Councilman Musey call up our boys team that succeeded in District 21.
Back Tim Duger up here first. Before I start here, some teams in sports have it. Nobody knows what it is, but if you have it, you start playing the game the right way. This team had trouble, I think, at the beginning of the year. We weren't winning a lot. We were throwing the ball all over the place. But all of a sudden, they caught fire near the end of the year. And they play in a league where they, again, are the smallest team in the league. They have the least amount of kids. They wind up, they get to the playoffs. They won the league playoffs. And they said, we're going to win this district tournament. I said, no, because the other teams have 3 or 4 teams in the league, and they bring them together as one team. Not only did they win the tournament, they won it without losing a game. The smallest team in the league, in the district, wins the district tournament. And that's a great accomplishment. This man here gets a lot of credit because these guys, they're not easy. They weren't easy.
Yeah, I know some of them, they are.
You went to a game, you see good baseball, and you laughed a lot. So Tim, for your coaches and your players, congratulations.
Mickey Gonzalez.
Kyle Weaver. Jason Gonzalez. Eric Hobbs. Derek Brades. James Petrino. Josh Flensky. Robbie Harley. Cody Ruffner. Kenny Reeves. Brian Cole. Tom Houston. Carlos Rodriguez. Calvin Ortiz.
Pictures or anything?
Nobody wants pictures now.
No. Any of the parents? Does anybody want pictures?
Serious?
There you go. Come on, guys. Come on. Next game.
Facebook picture. Facebook guys. Facebook guys. Oh, wait, Mom. What's you do right now? You gotta put content in the There you go. Come on. There you go.
Tim, I'll email you.
Good job.
Next presentation is going to be done by Gilmore and Associates concerning the roads in Bristol Borough. Let's hold up on this video until they're ready. All right, at this time we're going to have Gilmore and Associates come in and do a presentation to finalize our road program. We have Bob Solar, Kurt Schroeder, and Jeff Downey here from Gilmore and Associates. So I don't know if somebody wants to run the computer or you go to the microphone, however you want to handle it. We have the automatic clicker that you can change it from.
We're okay. You can
Okay, whatever you want to do.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Kurt Schroeder with Gilmore & Associates. With me tonight is Bob Solars
and the man behind the curtain is Jeff Downey. The last time we were here, you may have noticed the roads within the borough have changed. They look a little different, and for the better, we hope. We were asked to come here tonight and just kind of summarize the work that has occurred as part of the Year 1 Bristol Borough resurfacing program, and to talk about, what was accomplished, how it was accomplished, and what the costs are and how they'll be paid for. So, get into the presentation we have here. The scope consisted of milling and bituminous asphalt overlay. The total project consisted of over 17 miles of streets that were paved, and that includes alleyways as well as some parking lots. And the streets that were paved were the majority of the roads that are owned and maintained by Bristol Borough. So it did not include roads that were not owned by Bristol Borough, such as state roads or private roads. And there were a few roads that did not get resurfaced that are owned by Bristol Borough, but those were ones that were already in good repair and or had been resurfaced in recent years. Okay, the timing of the project was perfect. Things couldn't have gone any better. The Bristol Borough had recently gone through Aqua Pennsylvania's waterline replacement program, and as such, all the roads that received a new water main, the borough was able to negotiate with Aqua PA to share in the costs of milling and overlaying. So the borough split the costs on those roads 50-50. It was also an opportune time for construction because, as we all know, it's a slow economy, and construction contractors, were looking for work. So that resulted in very, very favorable prices for the borough through the competitive bidding process that the borough is obligated to go through. And the timing of it was good also because, if you recall, we were here in the beginning of the year, and the bidding went out in the beginning of the spring, and that's a good time to make sure that you get a project like this, you'll get a good qualified contractor. And the borough had General Asphalt out of Philadelphia, and they just did a bang-up job. They were tremendous. Needless to say, resurfacing the roads the way that it was done, it just kind of boosts up the borough. It brings a fresh look to the streets. It invites people to come and invest in the town. So the timing of the project was excellent. This is just a list of some of the roads, all of the roads where Aqua PA has done their waterline replacement. When we were first here, we talked about how to tackle this thing, and we looked at all different options. We looked at the available financing and budget that the borough had presently, and we looked at what they faced, with how many roads were out there that needed this type of work. And what we came up with was what was in the best interest of the town was to use a low-interest municipal bond to pay for this initial cost. Originally, we talked about a 20-year loan because of the original budget for the job. But now that the actual costs have come in and they were significantly lower than what was expected, the borough is contemplating paying that off in 15 years, which of course saves in the interest fees. It's important to note that as part of this, there were no property taxes being allocated towards financing this project. The money is being spent through the annual liquid fuels monies that come into the borough. Every time you fill up your gas tank, you pay a tax, and a portion of that tax gets reallocated through the state back to the borough, and that's the money that's being used to pay. And the annual debt service, based on the actual cost of what was spent, will be around $126,000, and we'll show you later what the actual money that comes into the borough is yearly. Okay, and to accomplish this program and this contract, the borough entered into an agreement with PennDOT, basically saying that we're going to do this project this year, and we're going to use the money that you give us as the borough to pay you back. The financing is through a private entity, but the funding is coming, the source of the funding is coming in through PennDOT. And it'll be dedicated funding that's not going to go anywhere. It will always be annually given, and it'll go up as costs go up. Okay, so this is a summary of the project budget now that we have actual costs came in. The project construction cost came in slightly below $2 million. Okay, of which there was $650,000 available today, which included the accumulation of previous year's liquid fuels, this year's liquid fuels, a separate street reconstruction fund that the borough had in their budget already, and through the Aqua contributions that Aqua PA paid for. And that resulted in the permanent financing of around $1.35 million. Okay, this is a copy of the Bristol Borough 2010 liquid fuels budget, and you will see that an expenditure line item was added for road program, and there you'll see the $126,000 highlighted. That's the annual cost to pay for this road program year one. Okay, as we mentioned, because of the project size and scale, because the borough undertook such a large amount of roadways, and the fact that there was a slow construction market, the prices were well below any of our expectations. Okay, we originally based the project budget on actual 2008 cost data. That was our benchmark that we had to work with. Because the project was out for bid in the early season, we got very highly qualified contractors on the job. They came in, they got the job done very quickly, and they got out of town. They're going to finish up all the physical work by the end of this week. And the borough even added more roads to this project than was originally contemplated because the costs were so great, and the borough took advantage of that opportunity that they had. Okay, here's a comparison of where we were last year. In 2008, we were looking at this project being around $4 million. The original budget in January that we presented was that this project was going to cost a little over $4 million. And you can see, based on some of the major components of the project, the milling and the overlaying costs, that we were 40 to 60% less than what was expected. And that actually came out to over a $2 million savings for the borough. It was half of what was originally contemplated. Okay, and we talked about in late January, we were here previously presenting the comprehensive plan, and we had a report that came along with that is available for your viewing. It's in Borough Hall on display. And since that time, we had done a value engineering proposal after reviewing all of the different roadways and generating a list of roadways and proposed improvements for those roadways, followed by us actually putting the contract out for public bid. The original thought was we were going to do two separate contracts this summer, one for the mill and overlay and a separate one for what's called microsurfacing, but because the prices were so good and it made milling and overlaying more cost effective for all the roadways, and therefore all the roadways were done under a single contract, which helped with the economy of scales. This is just a map that we put together of all the roads that were restored. Every one of the roads that are in, if you can see it in the pink, were the roads that were done, milled and overlaid this year. And it also goes on to show some of the alleyways and some parking areas that were done. The trail, if you've noticed, was improved. There was some base repair that was done on some bad spots, and a top sealing that will help preserve the asphalt that was there. And if you look at that map, it's a little deceiving. You'd think that's all the roads in the borough. It was actually 82% of the borough-owned roads were completed, which is an incredible figure. 82% is enormous. Okay, construction began, physical construction began June 15th. You probably saw the contractors rolling into town. They are anticipated to be completed, all physical work, by this Friday. That was done over a course of 87 working days. They worked Monday through Friday. And even with the additional roads that were added to the original construction scope, the project will be completed approximately 14 days ahead of the original construction schedule, which it just goes to show you that the planning that went behind this, I mean, this was done on purpose. We got the project out when we got it out so that when the cold months come, when you can't do paving anymore, we were already finished. So we don't have to worry about carrying over into the spring season. Okay? Now, as part of this program, you need to consider, well, what's the annual maintenance that needs to be done? Okay, if the borough is going to pave all the roads at once, how do we preserve the investment that was just made? And in order to do that, the borough will be doing annual maintenance on the roadways, which will include crack sealing. Anytime a surface crack occurs, those cracks will be sealed to protect that road from water penetrating underneath it. Any kind of drainage facilities such as storm sewer and storm inlets, those will be maintained. And a lot of these maintenance items will be done in-house with your Public Works Department. So that's a good benefit to have their ability to do those ongoing maintenance tasks. And then as part of this program also, there's an ongoing curb ramp replacement program that's in place, which will continue to comply with the federal ADA requirements for curb ramps along the roadways. Okay, based on the existing roads and the life expectancy that occurred from since the last time work was done, we expect these roadways to last anywhere between 15 to 30 years, and that's greatly dependent upon the level of traffic as well as the base material that's beneath the roadway. When uncovering these roadways, we were extremely pleased to find that the borough roads have a really sound structural base beneath them, and that is a main contributing factor to the fact that the roadways had already lasted 30 years since the last time they were resurfaced. So we would expect the same, if not better, results with this work. So we're expecting most of the roads to last anywhere between 20 to 30 years before they need a full roadway resurfacing. Okay, in summary, just to hit some of the highlights, there was over 17 miles of streets that were paved. It's 82% of all the borough-owned streets, and that includes some of the roads that were resurfaced within the past 3 years. The borough was successful in securing a low-interest bond to finance this year one program. The construction costs resulted in over a $2 million savings compared to the 2008 pricing. And through the efforts of the borough council and the borough manager's office, which was tremendously helpful, the Public Works Department, the police department, who was on site working every day during construction, there was a minimal disruption to borough residents during this process. It's never an easy task to come into a tightly packed borough and do such a dramatic construction project, but through the efforts of the contractor, the borough council, the manager's office, Public Works, the police department, it could not have gone any better. And in fact, the contractor every day would call and say how impressed he was with the cooperation that the residents and the staff at the borough provided to them to help them get their job done. Okay. In conclusion, the project was a great success. It was below the original budget. It was completed ahead of schedule, and there were many more streets that were improved than originally expected. It was a very cost-effective solution to a very large-scale public improvement, and it really is a tribute to the leadership ability to get this project out to bid in a timely fashion and have the full cooperation of the manager's office, the borough staff, Public Works, the police department, and the professionals. It was quite an improvement, and in fact, since this project's been made public and people have been catching on, it's amazing how many phone calls we've gotten from other municipalities who are interested in undertaking a similar type project. It really made a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. So we just would like to thank you on behalf of Gilmore and Associates. It was a great privilege to work here in the borough on this project. It was very rewarding, and we hope you guys enjoy the roads.
Kurt, there was one thing up there that said we originally started, I think, with 65 roads when we went out to bid. We ended up doing 100 and, what was it?
Jeff, around 120, 127, 128 road
So we
segments,
almost
right?
doubled the entire project. But when we went out to bid, we were concerned of the $4 million price tag.
Right.
So again, we were able to do all this, stay way under budget, pay for it with liquid fuels. And just to let council know, and we'll be doing this through our budget meetings, the $5.5 million original loan, let's get back to that we borrowed to start the Borough Hall renovation and to start the traffic lights, we used that basically as a credit line. We floated a credit line for $5.5 million. Right now, the way it looks, all the money's in for the grants, for the traffic lights, and for Borough Hall. The project now is only going to come in at $1.3 million. So during budget hearings, I recommend we pay back $3.3 million of that. We have $600,000 still hanging out there for the homes on Chestnut and Elm. So when we get done, it's only one. Everybody keeps saying, oh, you keep borrowing. They use the same $5.5 million. We only borrowed one time. And out of that $5.5 million, the borough should be able to pay back $3.5 million. It's up to council when we do our budget hearings. And only have a $2 million loan. And like the manager put up there, it'll be $100 and some thousand a year out of liquid fuels, and the rest will come out of our budget when we do our budget hearings. But to put a project on of this magnitude without interrupting people, I know there was some, cars towed here and there, which is, we expected, but nobody has a town, I think, in Bucks County that does not have a pothole or an alley or something that needs to be done. So I hope the borough residents appreciate everything. The council did an outstanding job having the foresight to do this project of this magnitude, and it couldn't have worked out any better. I mean, we had to save, because of the recession we're in right now with contractors, at least $2.5 million to get this project done. So again, does anybody in council have any questions for Gilmore? Mr. Lutz?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to say that I think I share the sentiment of most residents when I say that the streets look great. I mean, there's no question about that part. I'm especially happy that it costs us less than the $2 million that we anticipated.
And we doubled the amount of roads.
Pardon me?
And doubled the amount of roads.
Okay. Well, I have a concern. What is the interest rate on the loan?
Right now, it's 1% variable.
Variable?
And at
1%?
the appropriate time, we'll recommend to council, based on advice of our financial advisor, when to go to permanent financing. But the $126,000 annual payment to pay for the $1,350,000 is based on a 4% bond.
So it could go as high as 4%.
No, that's what we based it on.
That's what we
You
based
said
it.
1%.
Right now, we're paying 1% variable rate. When we're ready to go to a permanent financing, that figure is projected on a 4%, and hopefully it'll be less than that. We're waiting for our financial advisor to recommend to council when to go to permanent financing.
Okay, another concern I have is that there are several areas in town where we have 5, 10, 15-foot segments of curb missing. And at those places, the actual blacktop is up against dirt. familiar with it? Okay. How does that affect the life expectancy of those roads?
Well, obviously curb exists because you want stormwater runoff to hit the curb line and run down to a storm sewer or to wherever it drains to. So what you want to try to do is have a continuous curb line there, and that could be accomplished with concrete or bituminous asphalt. I don't know if there was any places in the borough left with dirt bordering directly onto the asphalt like you're suggesting. And if there are, please let us know, because the contractor's still in town and we'll rectify that. But at the end of the day, the goal is to have bituminous asphalt along the roadway to simply allow the water to hit that curb line and run down to a storm sewer. Okay.
If you, not to interrupt you, if you drive down Rackler Street all the way through Edgeley, there's no curb anywhere. It's asphalt right to the grass.
Well, then there's no
So,
curb
I
that was
mean,
there to begin with.
right.
It's not a great, you're allowed to have that.
You're allowed,
If
right.
it's running off there, that's
Well,
not.
I know the 200 block of Madison Street is missing several sections of curbing.
Yeah.
And my concern would be that in the wintertime, that the water and the snow and the ice get underneath the blacktop, freeze and pop it up.
Well, and it's important then for the borough to enforce the standing ordinance. I believe there's a standing ordinance that requires the curb to be maintained by the property owner, which is not uncommon. Most municipalities in Bucks County have that type of ordinance, that the curb and sidewalk be the responsibility of the...
Is that potentially going to be a problem? I guess you think it is.
No, if there's a roadway that has, if there's curb along a roadway, or there should be curb along the roadway because of the grade change that exists between the road and the curb, then the property owner should do their due diligence and upgrade that curb, because you don't want water to get there. Now, is it going to accelerate the life of or the deterioration of the road by 1,000%? No, it's not going to act quickly. It's case by case. It depends on the subgrade, depends on the sub-base beneath the roadway, and the amount of water that gets to that location.
Okay, my next question, do we have a plan or some kind of a schedule to complete the 88 ramps, especially along Wilson Avenue at the intersections?
I can answer that. When we have our budget hearings, we were going to put a dollar amount in every year to do so many ramps, whether it's 25,000 a year, 50,000 a year. That's the decision we have to make as a council, to say we want to spend so much money on ramps every year.
Okay, that's all I had. Good job.
Thank you.
So did we make the right decision, since you voted against all this? And you
Did we
said
make the right decision? I would have done it that way, no.
you would have taken 40-some years.
I wouldn't have taken it for you.
Mr. Musi, what do you have?
Switch to the right.
I'd like to thank Gilmore. They had a guy on the job every day, one of their engineers. If anybody had a question, I know in my ward, he would go right to their house, explain to them why they were doing things. You guys did a hell of a job. Thank you.
Mr.
I
Polinsky?
also said the same thing, Mr. Musi did a great job. Thank you.
Mr. Sabatini?
Yes, just it's been a pleasure working with Gilmore and Associates. That they've been very fair, very educational when we needed questions asked. And being in the construction trade, Mr. President, I've never seen roads get done so fast and job get done so fast. So this might be a big bonus for you as a company to prove that you can go into a borough that's small and come back and get it done. Great job. Not good job, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But one, if I may comment, one of the points that Kurt Schroeder made was the cooperation. And we had excellent cooperation. Our field people were here, as Councilman Musi pointed out, but we had excellent cooperation from Public Works, police, and everything like that. So, you know,
There's a lot of pre-planning, too, ahead of time. Everything was worked out. We knew the situations that were going to come up. We worked very closely with the manager to figure out how to handle them all, and it was just a plan the work, then work the plan, and that's what took place.
but you took this is a unique step. Bristol Borough has done something that other communities have not done. the way that you have set up this project, the way that you've worked with liquid fuels and everything, like Kirk pointed out, now we're getting, other municipalities are interested in this. They want to know, well, how did Bristol Borough do it? So you really did something special here.
Very
We're just
unique.
part of it, we're not, we're part of the team.
Very unique, Mr. President, in today's world. How efficient people can work together and get a whole town done. So.
Betty?
No, I'd just like to thank you for all your hard work and the borough crew. I mean, I know they were out there trying to make sure everything was set up for you, that people were aware their streets were being done. And that was an important project for this council, for most of this council. Because, I mean, we went back and forth, and we finally got it done. And I think we did it the right way. And thank you.
Robin?
No, I'm good, thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the council on behalf of all the taxpayers in Bristol Borough. Sitting here for the last year and a half and watching all the time and energy that was spent by the majority of this council and putting together a plan, as the professionals have pointed out, it took a lot of planning up front to make this project work and to be successful. Has been communicated. And, I commend the council on the fact that maybe you have now created a model that can be used throughout the state in, putting together a road program. I think it was an excellent job.
Thank you.
A short letter here from General Asphalt Paving Company of Philadelphia, who was the low bidder, who did the work here in the borough, and it's signed by Ed Paulus, the project manager. It's addressed to the borough. In 40 years of paving, I've never had so much cooperation on a project as I had on the 2009 Bristol Borough 2009 paving project. Thanks to the residents, police department, public works, Gilmore Associates, and the leaders of the borough, we were able to proceed with this project and minimize the inconvenience and hardships that accompany a project of this size. This level of cooperation is greatly appreciated by General Asphalt Paving Company. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you on a future project. I just want to thank the chief and his men, lady, for doing a great job, and also our Public Works Department and Angie for keeping everything in order there. So thank you. And Gilmore, thank you.
I just would like to thank George personally. You guys did an outstanding job. You were on the job every morning. You knew today what they needed to have done the next few days. The chief was, had his men, 3-4 cop cars, blowing sirens, knocking on doors. Our main goal was never to tow a car. Our main goal was to wake up the neighbor, alert whoever, and then, when all else fails, then tow. But your guys did an outstanding job raising manholes, lowering manholes. There was so much involved in this project that nobody really realized, except when they seen the milling machine, and then 2-3 days later the road was paved and just kept moving throughout. Started on Garden Street and just never ended until we finished. I think my area was the last street before they left town in Beaver Street. So, and Gilmore, you guys did an outstanding job. So thank you. Okay, at this time I'm going to open up public participation. So anybody on this side of the room would like to speak first, please go to the microphone. This side.
Fisher. Excuse me, I live at 1102 Wood Street in Bristol, and this is the first meeting I've been able to get to thank you publicly for passing the dog law ordinance last month, because I think it will go a long way toward protecting people and pets in our town. And I thank you for being so conscious and aware and responding to what you and I know from experience is a threat. People who have aggressive dogs and do nothing about it. They are a threat to the people and the animals in town, and I thank you. And I also want to thank our awesome animal control officer, Mr. Palmer, who is always on the job, always stays in touch, and he takes his job seriously. He, too, is conscious of public safety. House Bill 1243 is in committee still. It's in the Agricultural Committee and stalled, I imagine, because of the budget impasse. It is supposed to allow each municipality in the state to create and enforce its own dog law ordinances, and it is especially needed. Incidents keep happening. You may have seen the news reports, last week of a German Shepherd named Congo, and he had a long record of vicious bites until last year when he mauled a landscaper, and he was ordered to be put down. But his family appealed through the courts, and this happened in New Jersey, by the way. His family appealed through the courts, and during the appeal process, like for instance, one of the animal lovers' blogs, I'll paraphrase it, said there is no reason to think that this dog would do anything like this again. In any case, the family won its appeal, and the dog was released from the shelter sometime later with a muzzle and leashed. And the DA at that time issued strict orders. This dog must be muzzled and leashed at all times when it's outside of the house. And she issued a statement to the press saying that the restrictions were so strict that the dog would not any longer pose a threat to people. But unfortunately, he did last week when he mauled a 75-year-old woman. Now, how could he do that? Because he was loose and because he was not muzzled. And this is why it is so important for local municipalities, rather than the state, to create and oversee these kinds of incidents so that they don't have constant repetition. Congo has been put down. The fault is his owner's, but we really need to, a few weeks ago in Bristol Township, a woman was walking her little poodle, which was attacked by a loose dog. And the poodle could have been saved, except that the woman did not have the money for the kind of care the dog would have needed. So she had to put it down. It keeps happening again and again, and this is why it is so important in Pennsylvania to get this House Bill 1243 across, to get it passed, so that each municipality can oversee its own incidents. And again, thank you very much for your support.
Liz, I think our job as a council, and I think I can speak for everybody, is always to put our taxpayers first. And I think we're going to do everything we can to make sure that that continues, whatever issue it becomes, and no matter how much controversy there is with, what group favors what, our main goal is to make sure that our citizens of this town are protected. So we will continue fighting with you, I can tell you that. Anybody else on this side of the room would like to comment on anything? Anybody on this side of the room?
Hi, I'm Roberta Young. I live at 720 Mansion Street. This question is for Mr. Lutz. Since you don't agree with the council on how they fix the roads, how would you have done it?
Well, my feelings are pretty well known, that you're using liquid fuel monies to repay the loan. I would have used the liquid fuel money to do the streets on an ongoing basis.
That's it?
Now, I brought to the attention of this council the fact that Lower Makefield has 500 miles of road. That's how they do it. They do as many roads as they can afford every year with the money that they get from liquid fuels. It's an ongoing program. Now, we have incurred an additional $1.35 million debt that I felt was unnecessary.
Yeah, but our roads they're all done.
But
I mean,
that's true. Hopefully, the roads will last long enough to pay off the loan. Because in 15 or 20 years, when the loan is paid off, all the roads are going to have to be done again.
then we do them again.
Fine, that's fine.
You know,
She
Just-
asked me a question, Rob.
go
I'm
ahead.
trying to answer it for
go
you.
ahead.
Mr. Dillon, our manager, has probably worked in a half a dozen municipalities throughout his career for the last 30 years. Mr. Dillon, each one of those municipalities had a road program. Which one of those municipalities does the whole town at once? Can you tell us any?
Well, it's 40 years, Jim. And
40.
And I think your method of doing it, which would have taken 40 years without curbs and 80 years with curbs, was the dumbest thing I ever heard in my 40 years, okay? Can I finish? Can I finish? You asked me. You know, I got 40 years of knowledge I want to try and bestow upon you.
I agree.
But the Lower Makefield, for the most part, is a young community. Most of their homes, or many of their homes, are only 20 years old, and all those streets were put in and paid for by the developers and the homeowners, okay? I think what we were faced with here in the borough was a no plan at all. You had no annual effort, okay? We were faced with, in essence, 80% of the roads needed immediate attention. And I think it worked out better than I had anticipated, because your money is at 1% borrowing, which is phenomenal. The bids were like 60% lower than last year's market. We were able to do like 40% more of the streets. I just think it's phenomenal. You now have a road program that you can stay with and maintain. And it's very logical that every 15 or 20 years, and it's been recommended that we pay for this program over a 15-year period, that the remainder of the roads we can put on either a 5 or 10-year cycle and then be ready in another 15 years to do those heavily trafficked streets. But it's a ongoing plan that you have to keep evaluating, and I think Lower Makefield is a young community, unique, and I think they have some financial problems that are facing them in the future that they're putting underneath the rug at the moment.
Thank you.
I'm not finished, but...
You finish with her, you want to talk?
Well, I'm trying to answer her question.
Go ahead.
What Mr. Dillon referred to was, there has been no annual effort, and he's correct. But there should have been. If we have $180,000 a year from liquid fuels, we could have been doing streets for the last 5, the last 10, the last 15 years. It wouldn't be in the condition that you're in. You take your worst streets every year, you take the 180. Now, he would love for you to believe that my program took 40 years. But the math is simple. We have the same amount of streets, and we have the same amount of money every year to pay for it. So it has to be the same amount of time. It's that simple.
The engineer's report said that your plan is not that simple. What this borough was able to accomplish was the economy of scales. That was one of the major positive things that was accomplished. I don't want to debate it anymore. I think the borough's in great shape. You know, and 4 years ago, this council was faced with a municipal building. It was toilets didn't work, the roof was leaking, et cetera, et cetera. So we had to focus on certain things, take baby steps. Council went out and got grants They did a phenomenal job. Maybe we could have started the road program a couple years ago, but you kept saying, let's do people's curbs, especially on your street. That would have bankrupted the town.
What you're not,
I
what
had
you're not
enough. I
telling
can't
you,
stand this.
what Mr. Dillon is not telling you is...
Jimmy,
that
let me just,
The engineers are still here?
let me just, we're not going to discuss this all
Because
night.
in the price that he's referring to, he's including curbs, not comparing oranges with oranges.
Let me just say something. How much, just to wrap this up, because I'm getting tired of hearing it for the last. First of all, if we did spend our liquid fuel money the way you wanted to spend it, and do so many roads a year, the roads that were deteriorating in town would have gotten worse over the next, let's say we cut it to 20 years. How bad would have them roads been in 20 years? They had potholes now, sinkholes, so them roads would have only kept deteriorating more. So that's one theory that you got to look at. The second theory is, how much do we get a year?
Pardon me?
We get a couple 100,000 a year? 180,000 a year?
And you've got a road reconstruction tax, another 120.
Okay, so if you divide that, just that number, into the $1.3 million that we got a phenomenal price on, how many years is that? Is it 10 years, 15 years, just using your numbers? So basically what you're trying to say is, take that money yearly and let's do a road, don't create debt. But we didn't create debt. Liquid fuel is from the state. The only way we will not receive that money if people stop driving. And I don't foresee anybody that's not going to drive a car or buy gasoline over the course of our lifetime. So therefore, you have an opinion, we have an opinion, this council, the public has an opinion. The borough roads are done. The taxpayers are happy. The streets that we wouldn't have got to maybe in the next 10 years are now complete. Are they going to last 15, 20, 30, 40 years? Who knows? I like to be here in 25 years to find out the outcome. I'm sure you do too. But, you know, your theory is just ridiculous.
It certainly works.
Thanks for your
But
comment.
I'm not...
Thanks, Jimmy.
I'm going to respond to what you
Go
just
ahead.
said.
Go ahead.
First of all, in the first year of that $1.35 million loan, you're going to have to pay interest. At 4%, you're paying over $40,000 just in interest. I don't pay any interest in my life.
Right.
Now, I asked the manager a question about which municipalities has a road program that does all the roads at once, and he didn't answer
I
me.
don't think there's any.
Good.
You know why? Because I don't think anybody's roads,
Everybody else is wrong.
I don't think
Bristol Borough.
anybody's,
We're the model, though. We're the model. They're all looking
I
at
don't
us
think
now.
anybody's roads were as bad as Bristol. And what the mayor had said 6 months ago was, don't forget, you were paying interest, but you got to pay mobilization fee every time they come in to mobilize. There was $100,000 in this contract, just to mobilize. So put that number into your equation, Mr. Sabatini.
I think that that we should drop talking about this road program and move forward as Bristol is moving forward.
I agree.
Number two, the fact that we were able to do, through the manager, George Waldron, council president, council vice president, rest of the council, and all the residents of Bristol, is ingenuitive, and I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a copy all around Bucks County, Montgomery County, everywhere they're going to look and say, look at what Bristol did.
Without you,
That's the most important thing. We're ingenuitive about this.
okay. Anybody else on this side of the room would like,
Say one thing. I'm not a big fan of snow, but I almost wishing for snow this year so I can plow the roads. It's going to be an honor to plow these roads and see how they come out. Again, thanks to the council, borough manager, the mayor, and everyone else involved. This is a super project and one of the greatest projects Bristol Borough has had in a long time. And again, thank you.
Thank you, George.
anybody else on this side of the room?
Anthony Cantiello, 339 Hayes Street, Bristol. Just want to talk about a couple issues. Number one being the street program. It does look beautiful. However, there was some complaints. Did you hear about any of the complaints about cars being towed? You have a copy of Lorraine Cullen. Remember? Did you read this?
Yeah, we know,
The
Tony.
chief called. Would you like them? You don't want to, you don't think it's...
We
right?
have a copy. You've dropped that off already.
Yes, okay. Is she going to get her money back? That you know of, Melanie?
Let me just explain how this process works so you understand.
I would appreciate
The
that.
borough had nothing to do with cars being towed. In General Asphalt's contract, they have a 7 a.m. start time.
Okay.
And they could work till, was it 3? Or 3:30? 3:30, 7 to 3:30. Whatever cars were on the road at 7 a.m. in the morning, they said had to be towed. All we did was assist them with our police. Our police first knocked on doors. Don't forget, this program didn't start in Harriman. It started on Garden Street, went all through the North Ward, all through the West Ward, all through the South Ward. Not one resident came up here that had their car towed and complained because they understood they should have moved their car by 7 a.m. The police officers blew their siren, put their bullhorn on, knocked on doors, ran the license plates. They tried to do all this prior to 7. The incident in Harriman, I think it was 7:30, and they were still trying to find out who owned the cars. Then, once they called the tow company, and that tow truck driver comes out, that's not the borough. That's Lynch Collision or Bodywork by Bernard were the two towing companies. Once they came out, they had to be paid. The only way this person could be reimbursed is through Lynch Collision, not through Bristol Borough unless General Asphalt, but that doesn't have anything to do with this borough.
Well, thank you. We'll contact General Asphalt. How about the police using the F word and cursing? Mr. Saxon, I enjoy your looks. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you this. Have you read this? This guy, Chris, had to explain to his three boys why a police officer was yelling and cursing at him. There was no sign put up at this particular instance.
Okay.
So the lady did not know, and they went out, asked, and what she did was she, just like Ronnie Smith when you speak up here, that's why I'm here, Mr. Saxon, because people are scared, okay? The police gave her a disorderly conduct 3 days later for complaining. That's why I'm here, and I'll continue to be here as long as people have complaints. Mr. Sabatini, have you checked with Mrs. Quarles? Have you spoke with her? I watched the tape of you, how her husband got stun gunned. He was very upset about that. I went and spoke with her, just to let you know. She's not happy. She wants to move out of town. And let me give you this, Mr. Quarles.
Tony, don't,
Give that to the chief.
just don't,
Can you please give that to the mayor? I appreciate it. Next, I spoke with Liz Fisher on the phone. I don't know if you remember me. Did Liz leave? I'm Anthony Cantiello.
why don't you address council?
I'm sorry. I have a couple pictures here. I was curious about. I went to see Galloway about the laws in Bristol, the dog laws. Are you familiar with this sign? You must leash and keep your dogs under a leash. It's in front of your house. I'm sure you're aware of it.
I don't know.
Pick up the dog poop. Not only is there words there, but there's also a picture of a person holding a leash and picking up the poop, in case you can't read. Just one suggestion. I'm not a dog
I don't
expert,
even know
but-
where you're going with this.
Well, Robin Trinnell had her dogs. It looked like she was paying attention here with Galloway. But she has her two dogs here without a
You
leash.
took pictures of me
Yes.
on the street?
Yes, I did.
Walking my dogs?
Yes, there's no leash.
What
on
is the
dog.
matter with you? I mean, seriously.
I was fired.
You
from-
need to find something to do with yourself,
Saxton, well,
Tony.
I can explain. Mr. Saxton.
Tony, let me stop you.
Because this...
This is getting,
No,
you
you're
can
not allowed to
speak.
speak.
What do you want to talk about? Because
I'm
you
making-
waste,
I'm trying to be helpful.
you
If you have a
come
small
here
dog
and you waste
and you're-
our time.
I don't think it's wasting time.
Well,
This
it's a
might be
waste
helpful.
of our time.
If a little dog is unleashed and it runs away and the dog attacks it,
Okay, she's responsible for a dog.
yes, that's what I'm saying. If you're
All
going,
right,
if you're so
you got a
concerned
problem.
about the
list.
You really do.
Well, I do
I
because
would
I
like
can
to make
tell
a
you.
comment, because he directed it
You
at
know,
me.
I was
but
fired
I'm
from
not
my
going to
job
make
in
a
St.
comment
Mary's.
right now, because right here is a waste of time. This is becoming like Seinfeld up here. And it's ridiculous, dude.
Again, have you talked
Why
to
don't
Mrs.
you
Quarles?
calm down? Mrs. Quarles, Teresa Quarles is a friend of mine.
Okay.
Okay? I know exactly what happened.
Okay.
Okay? And I did make a complaint up
Ronnie
here.
Smith was
I
speaking,
made a
Joe Moore's
complaint here. Wait a second. Listen, don't talk about our police department. Our police department
I have the
is
right.
a
It's not a
very
HIPAA
good
issue.
police department.
Mr. Saxon
It's
said
not
I used to
excellent.
be a nurse. I'm still a registered nurse. And this is where this all started.
Then you
You said there's an
understand
accident, you said there's an accident investigator. I want to know why Joe Moore's let this person go after he smashed 6 cars. It's been 2 years now.
Oh, my God, it's
Why can't I get a
Mulberry Street all
response?
over
Let me
again.
address something here. You come here as another pillar of the community to address other people's problems.
Absolutely.
Allegedly, these people have asked you to come here.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Yes.
If there is a problem, you need to understand.
Smith get
If there is
attacked
a
by Joe
problem,
Moore. Did Joe Moore's,
You need to understand
did Joe
that
Moore
that
stalk
person
him and
needs to
ticket
come,
him?
File a complaint.
That's
with the
useless,
police
and you're
department.
useless. You've got complaints.
That's fine.
You've got
You're
complaints.
entitled to your opinion.
That's all I
You're
want.
entitled to your opinion, but
Then
my
don't send the
reference to
police
you-
after me and my
My
family.
reference to you, Mr. Cantiello, is that as a nurse, you are well aware.
How
of
did
the
you know I was
privacy.
a nurse? Did you have somebody call?
I know.
You just said it.
Plus, you told me just 10
No,
minutes
no,
ago.
no, I have it on
10
tape.
seconds.
The last time I was here, you said your exact words, you used to be a nurse, you're familiar with the HIPAA
Yeah,
laws.
because you told us in one council meeting, it's on tape. Remember, you accused us of getting you fired or something? I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
But the bottom line is,
Exactly.
where I was going with that is that if you were a nurse, then you understand privacy. When you have a problem, if you have a problem, and you get cited by a police officer, he's only doing his job.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
That's all. No, you're not trying to give me a hard time. What
I just
you're
have
trying
some
to do is
issues
cloud
that I
the
believe
issue
are
and make people
relevant.
think that you're here representing those people, and you're not.
If
Have
there
those
is,
people come in.
if there is a personal vendetta that you have privately with me, I'll be more than glad to talk to you
That'd
anywhere.
be great, because
Okay?
I spoke with the principal.
Give me a
Mr. Schaefer,
call,
today. I'm
we'll
gonna be
meet
going to the
somewhere and I'll
school board
talk to
meetings.
you. But it's gonna be not as a
How you
councilman.
got elected over
You hear me,
75.
Tony?
Yes, I'm
All
listening.
right.
Tony, listen to me. Listen to me. You want to talk about it, not as a councilman,
Am I a nobody?
as a resident.
Am I a nobody?
No, everybody is everybody here, okay?
No, not
But
that-
you're
not that
actually
Rodriguez.
going out stalking, Robin, Trudell.
I'm not stalking anybody.
What is the problem?
I'm concerned.
We care about
I'm
everyone.
concerned.
Let me go there.
What is wrong?
All right, listen
You
to
can see it.
Privately,
Ben,
Tony,
you called somebody
as
a
a
racist?
resident,
You called...
Can I, Pat?
as a resident, I would like to
Who did
see
I call
this man as a non-councilman.
I called her.
I would love to meet with you, Pat.
It's not
Pat,
worth
can
your
we-
time.
Can we meet?
No, I would like to talk to you about what is
Tony,
bothering you.
If you have, listen,
The other day, I said hello
I
to
called somebody
you, right or wrong.
Oh, I wasn't sure that was you, I'm
Pat.
sorry. I didn't, yeah, I thought that was Mike Duranda.
Jesus Christ, I said hello.
I just want to...
Tony, I'm trying to make friends.
I've given the chief a chance.
do you have anything else you want to discuss that pertains borough business?
Yes, this is all borough business.
It's police business. You need to take that up with the Police Civilian Review Board. We have a process, go to the district attorney, do whatever you want to do. You're wasting our time.
So you don't want to hear about...
I don't want to
people's
hear
problems.
anything from
only
you
wanna hear
anymore.
good
I'm
things.
getting tired of it.
None of it.
Unless it pertains something
Did
that...
you call, after you had Mrs. Joan, the lady called crippled?
Tony, you
made
got
that
to get...
report. And again, I mean, if I'm out of line, hey,
Out of
no problem,
line.
Betty.
Been
You're
out
out
of
of
line since you've been
You
coming
take
here.
pictures of my dogs and you're out of line.
My daughter was in there, actually, and to be honest with you, I want to know why the man with the yellow sign has a purse. Do you know? I just thought that was funny. That's why I took the picture. You just happened to be in the background. I hit a
Tony,
kid.
what, stop, you need
I
to
hit a
sit
kid.
down.
I hit a kid
You
on the
need help,
bike.
seriously.
I hit a kid.
Help.
You do need help,
Really?
Tony.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments,
One more
Tony.
thing.
We don't have any,
Did
we
you
don't
call a
want to...
probation officer, Fran Waters, and did you use the Bristol Police to get his information to try to report him?
I don't even know
Is that
Who was in
true?
there with the purse? I want to know.
Are you
the
going to
name of the
deny
purse.
Put a
that?
limitation of-
Did you, after you had the
Purse.
information, you had P. Fate write up a ticket, and the crime was information. Joe Martelli, you yelled and screamed at, and this Fran Waters, how did you know he was on probation, and why did you call to try to get
Who
him
are
in
you
trouble?
talking about?
This Fran Waters, you're denying it?
Who?
He's the other person with Joan that you had ticketed.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I
Well,
really don't.
Here, I'll give you a copy.
I don't want you, I don't want
Let him
anything from
approach
you.
it. I don't want him away
One of
from
the
me.
problems is when I go to the chief and I go to Mr. Saxon, I'm not getting any help, that's
You got an imagination that's just
No, this is
unbelievable.
fact.
What else do you...
If you think you're not getting any help, the only reason is you're not the person's name that's on that incident report. That's the person we'll deal with, not you, unless you're
Are
the
you
lawyer.
calling
I don't know what
me,
you don't understand.
are you saying that Ronnie Smith was not ticketed?
I'm saying that
was
you're not
stalked?
Ronnie Smith, and we don't address that. Under
Because
privacy,
you've succeeded in intimidating the people of Bristol, and for some reason, that
The
don't
whole
bother me.
town?
you try
Yes,
to-
I have, I got...
Tony,
multiple
thanks for your
complaints.
comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is your protege next? Who's next? You coming up? Coming up? Anybody else on this side, anybody want to
Please,
say anything, or?
shut it down, man. Let's go. No, come on.
What do
We
you
gotta
want?
do, we gotta...
Too late.
I like that. That'd be better.
Last week, we were talking about, the tickets and everything, the complaint that was filed, all that. That's what Tony was speaking about, the woman that was passing out the literature. I didn't see the literature. I finally got a copy of the literature that was passing out that, you said was full of lies. So, I loked it over, and I was trying to figure out what were lies in there. I did notice your name once or twice.
Anything, yeah.
I'm getting to that. Like I said, I don't know if anybody has seen the literature.
Yeah, I saw
He
it.
did sign his name to it.
Yeah.
He didn't hide behind anything. And,
Admirable.
you were talking about slander and stuff, and I didn't see any slander in it. I didn't see any lies.
He's bankrupting the town?
It doesn't say...
Oh.
What I'm reading is that the borough budget was less than $3 million 4 years ago, and is now pushing $5 million. Is that wrong?
Could you?
You don't really want me to dispute
Yeah,
this
let's
letter.
not.
No, I'm just
This is-
asking you if it's right or
this
wrong.
is
That's
not
what's
I gotta
right.
go,
forum.
this isn't
I'm
the
just saying that's
forum
what-
I
for
want to
it.
go to work.
The-
I'm getting ready to leave. I'm not scared. I want to
That's
go to
okay, you
work.
can leave.
Okay.
And maybe stop by and clean up your dog mess too, because other people got to.
If you really want to go
Really?
through
I'm with
this
you,
line
too.
by line, Chris, I'm going to make it sure.
no, I'm just
going to
asking
make you
you.
really look bad.
I don't want to go line by line.
I'm just asking you. The paper, listen, it just says,
All right, let's,
Ralph, it just says,
Calm down.
I just...
Calm down.
Oh, my God.
It's not worth it.
Ralph, I'm just saying,
All right,
the only thing I seen in the literature was that it just said that the borough's budget, which was less than $3 million 4 years ago, is now pushing $5 million.
it's not even, the numbers aren't even right.
That's why I said, I didn't know anything
Just
about
for
it.
the record, just for the record, 2006, the actual general fund budget was $4.5 million. The 2009 budget is 4.6. Insignificant
That's a
deviation.
lot.
Right.
So it's
Like
a
I said,
lot.
hey, I'm just trying to understand it.
All we got to
I don't
do is
think
get
you
a copy of
can
the budget.
understand.
What you need to do is sit down with the people that are putting it out. All right, what else do you have, Chris?
If it was slander,
Chris, do you have anything that makes sense?
yes, I did. Last week, you read a letter from Mr. Tossi, I guess the water sewer.
Yes.
The chairman, yes, the chairman. And I guess he stated that the sewer rates were $42.63 in 2004 for minimum consumption. Minimum consumption being 10,000 gallons, I believe?
Yeah, I think
Correct.
that's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then it was reduced to $40.50 in 2007, leaving everybody to believe it was reduced.
Why it wasn't?
Well, no, what I'm saying is, what happens if you go over that 10,000?
Come on. What, oh, if you go over the 10,000, 80% of the borough homes go over the 10,000.
How do you know that?
What do you mean, how do I know that?
How do you know that?
I can tell you some.
Going door to door, talking to people. I'm the pillar, Joe. I'm the pillar.
But listen to me.
No, but I'm asking you, what happens
Mr.
if you go over the 10,000 gallons, then it changes?
Mr. Marucci's literature,
Right, so...
Chris,
No, so in '04, the overage was what?
Chris, you're making a jerk out of yourself. You're making a total, listen to me. It's a minimum sewer bill. Everybody gets a minimum bill.
Right.
Mr. Marucci said that sewer bills have tripled. They have not tripled, whether it was for 10,000 gallons or whether it was for over 10,000 gallons.
Okay, so...
His facts are wrong. It's a lie.
Okay, so in 2004...
Why don't you go to a sewer authority meeting
Absolutely.
and get all your questions answered?
I am going to go.
Good.
Or not
I'm trying to say, what you were talking about pertained to $10,000 and under. So I'm saying, if it's over $10,000, say if it's 10,100 gallons, how much of an increase are we talking about?
It's
5% discount. It's a rate.
So I'm gonna
Tony.
No.
take him away.
You're gonna turn those
Only
lights
because,
Tony.
just for everyone's
I had enough.
Just so, this happened to me
Yes,
personally. A lot of people's water
But
bills
no,
are
hold on.
estimated. Did anyone know that?
Yeah, you can't, I think we're allowed
Oh,
to do that.
okay.
All right, are you two guys done?
Yes, I got one question.
Before you sit down. The lawsuit that you filed against the borough, or you had the borough served, that you said you got hurt during our lights were being installed in Bristol
Absolutely.
Borough,
Absolutely.
the attorney used was from JFK Boulevard in Philadelphia?
Yes.
You're so concerned about the borough taxpayers, you're filing a lawsuit against the borough because you...
Absolutely. Well, actually, it wasn't
But let
against the
me
borough, so
finish.
you have it wrong.
You're the
It's
pillar.
against the company that left the...
You're
that left the
filing
street
a
wide
lawsuit
open,
against
which
the
I broke
borough.
my ankle in 3 places.
Okay,
So
just
what?
to let you know, the borough denied that lawsuit, so if you think that's corrupt, go
That's
see
fine.
your attorney.
It wasn't with
Thank
the borough,
you.
so maybe you should do
Thank
your
you.
facts.
No, it
It's
is with the borough.
No, it's the company that was doing the work that left the street
It
wide
says
open.
the borough-
I wasn't the only one to fall.
You wanna read your attorney's letter?
So you should do your homework.
You want to read your attorney's letter?
No, I don't have to read my attorney's letter.
Borough was mentioned in the suit.
I don't need to. That's why
Okay.
he's my attorney. He handles it.
Okay, well, you're saying you're not suing the borough.
No, I said, you're up there saying everything. I'm
I'm
saying...
reading your attorney's letter.
This is what I'm saying, okay?
You're
I'll
the
make it-
pillar
I'll
of
make
the
it real
community,
simple, Okay, whatever
that you want to
company
sue
have
the
that
borough.
trenches Through the town, okay, left a 4-inch, 5-inch trench unfilled, unmarked through the night, okay? I stepped into it, fell over, broke my ankle in 3 places, required $80,000 worth of surgery. Okay, so what, I'm supposed to just eat that?
All I wanted to bring to your attention is that you want everybody to know that there is a lawsuit filed against this borough, and who pays the lawsuit are the taxpayers. The taxpayers.
The company hired to do it, didn't do the job correctly, didn't secure anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Lutz, it's a sad day in this town, the people that you are now bringing to this floor.
You know what, Mr.
Sad
Chairman?
day. Sad day.
Let me...
Tony, don't even go up there and start talking.
There's somebody wrote
You're
you a
gonna
note.
end
If
up
you don't stop
getting-
going through the stop sign, and I sent you an
You're
email,
gonna get
I'm going to say
yourself-
something to you. My daughter
you're gonna
plays
get
in that
yourself
park across the
arrested
street.
tonight.
You stop at the stop sign. You stop at the stop sign. I wrote you a letter, Lorraine, you never got back to me. You accused me of almost killing your car. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because my convertible top was down. I'm sorry if I did
Item
that.
number 2
So that's
on
all
the
you do is say,
agenda.
hey, I'm sorry, and you could have said, thank you.
Make a
Item
motion to
number
making
approve
a
the
notice.
minutes of 9:14.
Because you're not going to say, oh, the kid had a knife when your son runs some
Accept the
kid down.
treasurer's report, accept the police report, accept the fire chief's report, accept the borough inspector's report, and accept the harbor report and decisions.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Sabatini. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 3. Number
Mr. President, I'd like to make a resolution approving the amendment 2010 minimum municipal obligation for the police pension fund.
Second. by Mrs. Rodriguez. Questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I wasn't here for the work session, but items number 3 and 4 are related, and last month, when we approved these, it was an increase of approximately $170,000, $175,000. Is that correct?
Right.
The new amended is almost even. It might, in fact, in one case, I think it was the police one, we're actually down.
Right.
Went from 256,000 in '09 to 251 in 2010. Can somebody explain,
I can.
all this came up just,
No. First of all, Mr. Lutz, when we made the motion
We're here.
that night, we had to, by law, pass an MMO that night. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't comply. What we did was, we passed it based on the actuary's estimate before he came in and actually looked at everything. And we said that. We're going to pass this tonight, and when we do our budget hearings, am I correct? We will then resolve the final figure. You remember that?
so it may be changed again.
No. He literally came now, he did all the figures that needed to be calculated, and it's literally cheaper than it was last year. Or, Mr. Salerno, what is it, a couple $1,000s cheaper?
Basically a wash.
It's almost a wash. So, the first thing everybody wants to do is run with a statement that we're breaking taxpayers again. It's all, now everybody's going to go reprint their literature. Because all you need to do is wait, and what I said was at the meeting, what I said at the meeting was, let's pass this motion, knowing that it will not exceed this number, hopefully it will come in cheaper. Am I correct?
I don't remember. If you say so, okay. I don't have
Questions
any
or
other
comments?
questions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstention,
Go ahead. Number 5.
Mr. President, I'd like to adopt an ordinance prohibiting parking on the north side
Number
of
4, I'm
Canal.
sorry, Beth.
Number 4, Mr. President, I'd like to adopt a resolution approving the amendment 2010 minimum municipal obligation for the non-uniform pension fund.
Second. Second by Ms. Rodriguez. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5.
Mr. President, I'd like to adopt an ordinance prohibiting parking on the north side of Canal's End Road.
Second by Ms. Rodriguez. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to amend the demolition and landscaping contract for Bristol Steel Treating Site in the amount of $9,550.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Trinnell. Any questions or comments? All those in
Who's doing the work, Mr. Chairman?
It says right in the motion.
Yes, it does. No, it doesn't.
Pay attention. Right here. It's with your packet. It's in your
Well,
packet.
it's not the motion.
Your packet. Pay attention.
Do I have any questions or all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7.
Mr. President, I'd like to authorize the, start again. I'd like to adopt a motion to authorize the demolition of the former pump house.
I have a second by Ms. Rodriguez. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, that building has sat there for a number of years in disrepair. It is, however, a historic site. We tried to go out to bid to sell and got nobody interested in buying it. Rather than knock it down, I'd like to see if we can't just give it away. And I say give it away, I'm talking about maybe a fraternal organization in town, maybe the Consolidated Fire Department who lost some meeting space when you renovated the police department. Maybe we could give it to them and they could remodel it. Or, I think of the train station, I think what a travesty that would have been to knock that building down.
We all agree.
And fortunately, we had the Rotary Club come in and take the bull by the horn. I'd like to try for a month or two to see if we can't get somebody else to do the same thing with that.
Well, that's how we advertised it. We advertised it where...
High bidder to sell it.
No, we advertised it that if somebody wanted to come in with a project, we would sit down with them and lease it to them for $1 a year.
And they had to complete it within a year.
And it had to
And
be
we discussed this
completed.
at the work
Just to
session.
let you know, we met with the Rotary Club, we met with Sid Taylor, the African American Culture Society wanted to do something there. We met with, I think one of the... Harold Mitchner, to see if we can do something. Everybody that we met with tried to get either grants or go out. It's just, there's no money out there. And if you remember, when we ripped the roof off, it was your recommendation that we didn't spend $50,000 at that point to put a roof on the building. That's why the building deteriorated, and we all agreed at that point not to fund that project.
Did you have $25,000 in the budget for that?
Oh, for God's sake.
Do you have
We
$25,000?
decided
We don't have
not to do
anything
it.
in the budget for the pump house.
There was $25,000 budget.
All right, any other questions or comments? Mr. Lutz, if anybody you know in the next, we're not going to rip it down in the next month, but if you know of anybody wants to...
I just like to see it.
We all would love to see it saved. Mr. Sabatini been fighting for 6 months now, trying to keep this building up, looking for somebody.
Can I say something about trying to, Mr. Lutz, you'll understand. We did the lagoon project, all with volunteered union guys and everything. Mr. DiGiuseppe and myself, we tried to put that together for that pump house. I tried every avenue. Mr. DiGiuseppe tried every avenue. I know Robin and Betty, they live in that ward, they tried everything. There's nothing that I would rather see than see that thing beautified.
Consolidate it once, we don't have a problem with that either, but we don't want the
I don't know
buildings...
if they want it.
I'm
But
just
I would
saying,
offer it.
if you know of anybody in the next 2 or 3 weeks, okay?
I just think demolition is just too far.
The building's unsafe right now, so we can't leave it there another year. Somebody has to come in and immediately start. We even tried to work a deal with Mr. Brannigan. We were going to move Mr. Brannigan into the pump house and swap out his building. And we were going to pay a difference. We had that building appraised, Mr. Brannigan's building appraised. We tried every avenue there that you could think of. Nothing has worked out.
Okay.
Mr. Brannigan got estimates, I think, over $150,000 to fix the building, and that's with him doing a lot of the work.
We don't do this
So-
lightly.
And we also worked with the Bristol Preservation Group the last 6 months, trying to get with Chris Golden, with all the different fraternal
wants it.
groups.
Let's
And
go.
nobody would take on the question.
One more comment before we close this, is that we tried every avenue, number one, and number two, it's a main artery coming into our town.
Exactly.
Right,
I think that has to be looked at too.
right.
So, it's a
All in
hard
favor?
decision.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8.
President, make a motion to authorize replacement of decorative light fixtures on as an as-needed basis.
Second. Second by Mr. Polensky. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10.
President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the land development time extension request of Roman Halls to October 30th, 2009.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Cornell. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10.
I'd like to place a motion on the floor to accept Loudon subdivision time extension request to December 14th, 2009.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Cornell. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize advertising for bids for refuse collection.
Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Rodriguez. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 12.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the advertisement of an amendment to responsible contractors ordinance.
Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Rodriguez. Just comment on this. We have a responsible bid contract. We're only adding that one sentence in there because we don't think none of the trash haulers will comply with our specification under the responsible bid contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't go nowhere.
Mr. President, I'd like to suspend the rules to add something to the agenda.
Second by Mr. Musi. All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to approve the Langdon Engineers contract for $128,000 per their proposal dated October 9th, 2009.
I have a second by Ms. Rodriguez.
Mr. President, I was going to defer to the solicitor.
Okay,
You could explain.
Bill.
As everyone may know, there was a piece in the paper over the last year or so, Congressman Murphy has been able to secure 2 grants for the borough through the Department of Agriculture, each in the amount of $573,000 for flood control and wetland improvements, et cetera, for the Otter Creek watershed, which is adjacent to the parking lot. We've been working with the Department of Agriculture. We have to submit to them. Council previously voted to sponsor the project. Now we have to have approved a environmental assessment and a plan, and that can't be done without an engineer, without engineering. Langen submitted a proposal about a month ago, which we've reviewed extensively with the Congressman's office and with the Department of Agriculture, the NRCS, and this is their final proposal to do all the work in order to have the implementation plan, environmental assessment plan approved by the Department of Agriculture. Once that's approved, then we can start implementation of the various projects. So that's what this contract is. It's the next step so that we can have the plans approved for the work.
And the money that we're approving tonight comes out of the Congressman's grant. It doesn't come out of taxpayers. Again, we were fortunate enough to secure another $1 million in grants. I think we're up to about, $6-7 million in grants that this council achieved over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's just another step in the right direction. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Under
Mr.
others?
Lutz, under others?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, and as hard as it may be for you, maybe you can do it.
I can't hear you, Jimmy.
I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. At the September work session, I asked the manager for some receipts and statements regarding finances and expenditures. He hasn't done that. Would you send him a directive?
What do you need?
I asked him for the invoices for Jim's tree service. It was almost $8,000. I have to ask for it, Mr. Dillon? I want to get it?
There's a lot going on, Jim, I forgot to get it to you.
The 1.1
You stopped
million
in
and all.
Friday. You stopped in Friday. I wish you had just said hello. I had it on my desk.
Include it with my packet.
Wait,
Be easier.
Why don't you explain that, Mr.
Easier.
Dillon?
just for the record,
I guess I don't get it if I don't make an issue out of it, right? That's fine. Ralph, forget it. I have it now.
I want Mr. Dillon to explain it, though,
Ralph didn't know that.
so that people understand what the question you had. The question was we overspent or something, but
I was concerned about the bills for Jim's tree service in the amount of almost $8,000. And I didn't know what they were for, and usually they make the homeowner responsible for tree removal. So, listen, I'm going to go over the re-invoices, that's all I asked for.
can you explain it, Mr.
I
Dillon?
also asked for a statement from Gordon about the Wachovia termination agreement.
Here you go, Jim.
Well, I have both of those things ready for you. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm good, Ralph.
In terms of the tree service bills, one of the bills dealt with the PICO agreement that we had where they took down a number of trees on Wilson Avenue. and stumps were involved. The borough agreed that we would remove the stumps. We got 3 quotes, and the low bid was for the removal of 49 stumps in the amount of $1,742, and this was by Jim's Tree Service. The other one other 2 of the invoices dealt with the cemetery on Wood Street, where we had to have 3 trees removed and stumps removed on an emergency basis so the road program could proceed. And the property owner it will be reimbursing the borough that amount of money, $3,995. But all the checks, copies of the invoices are included, and the amounts. So I think that addresses.
And in this month's report, we also have another Jim's Tree Service.
Which I noted there. I wanted to I wanted to include that, so you know.
That's
you
great.
had
Thank
that
you. Thank you very much.
All right.
That's all I have, Mayor.
One thing, George, since you're here, across the street at the Lincoln Monument, where everything is, maybe you can get a price or look at the borough about really cleaning that area up and making it something special. You know, the bushes maybe can go behind the sign, getting a new sign. I just think we take for granted that, you know, it's here, but I think people coming in from out of town, it's like a historical site where they come and visit, knowing Lincoln stopped here or whatever, but I just think to beautify that area some way, maybe with the manager, let's see if we can dress that up. I got a motion to adjourn?
You had one. You had one.